Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. Before we get going, from all of us at Freight Farms, we hope that you are staying safe and healthy in each of your communities. Hopefully, we will be through this soon. But for right now, we're really grateful to be able to connect digitally with our amazing farmers. And today we have some very special guest speakers from Lotus House in Miami, Florida, and we'll be talking about the value of farming in the fight to end homelessness. So Constance Collins is the founder and executive director at Lotus House, and Jackie Roth is their project coordinator. Constance and Jackie, are you both with us?
Hello, yes. Yes, we are. And thank you so much for today's talk.
Great. My name is Caroline. I am also joined by my co-host Winnie, who is my dog, and hopefully she will not be participating in the conversation today by barking, but that's just a circumstance of working from home right now. So, but thank you both, Constance and Jackie, for speaking with us today. I know you are very, very busy with everything that's going on right now, so we're really grateful for your time. To give everyone a preview of what we're going to be talking about, you'll hear all about Lotus House, their mission and services, how food and farming play a role in their community and their programming, and its overall impact. We will be having a question and answer session at the end of our conversation. So to our listeners, as you have questions for Constance, Jackie, or myself, feel free to plug them into your webinar panel and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. And this will be recorded for anyone who wants to listen in later. So I think the best place to start here is just to give an introduction to Lotus House because it truly is one of a kind. We had the pleasure of hosting an open house last summer, and I think every single one of us were blown away by the facilities, the community, the services at Lotus House. I just want to pause for 1 second. Okay, just wanted to make sure our audio is good. And we were really blown away by the facilities, the community, the services, and just the overall vibe of the Lotus House. So can you tell us a little bit more about the community that you're serving in Miami?
Absolutely. This is Constance. We are Lotus House, first of all, just to give you a little bit of background, is a comprehensive homeless services facility. We are nestled in the heart of the African American district of Overtown, which is one of the poorest neighborhoods in Miami, Florida. And for those who don't know, Miami is one of the poorest large cities in the United States. Our shelter has been in operation for now over 15 years. Most of those years we were in aging, deteriorated buildings that were ill-suited for what we did, literally falling apart. And finally, at the beginning of 2018, our properties were redeveloped into a state-of-the-art comprehensive facility that serves as the largest shelter for women and children in the state of Florida and is one of the largest, likely in the top 5 in the nation in size. We shelter up to 490 high special needs women and children on a nightly basis. Everyone that we shelter is experiencing homelessness, and as we know, violence is the lead cause of homelessness for women and children. So our focus is very much on providing a wraparound support system with therapeutic supports and deep protective factors, particularly for children. Our neighborhood in so many ways mirrors who we shelter here at Lotus House. So it's these are difficult times right now. It's actually difficult in a shelter on a daily basis, but in the time of this pandemic, it has become more challenging.
Mm-hmm. And how, I think the word shelter, it does such a disservice to Lotus House. So could you talk about how Lotus is different from other shelters? Everything from the services you provide and maybe your holistic approach.
So we had 15 years, almost 15 years of operating to learn from those we sheltered in ultimately designing and developing our new state-of-the-art facility. And among the many features that it includes are things like an intake sanctuary, a therapeutic children's wellness center, yoga and meditation room, a working classroom kitchen, an education center, a salon, art and activities lab, a neighborhood health clinic that serves both the shelter and those around us, children's playrooms and children's play spaces throughout the shelter. It is universally ADA accessible, environmentally sensitive, and really designed to provide a trauma informed sanctuary for women and children who need to heal and to reclaim their lives. And
Mhm.
so the programming and therapeutic supports give them those tools and resources to build the foundation for a different, safer, brighter future.
I feel like sanctuary is the perfect word to describe Lotus, especially Lotus Village. When we arrived there, it was not at all what I was expecting. It's a beautiful facility. There are chandeliers. It's very welcoming, and I feel like Lotus truly sets the standard for the types of services and facilities that should be available for people experiencing homelessness. It's not what you think of when you hear the word shelter. It's a welcoming environment where people can hold on to their dignity and feel safe, protected, and lifted up. And I truly applaud what you all do there every single day. I feel like you're also very well known like in the nation as a kind of a model for what shelters should be, but also like in Miami, I feel like every single person I've ever mentioned Lotus House to, they know exactly who you are.
Well, I'm glad you used the word dignity because it is a word that I think embodies what we try to offer those that we're privileged to shelter. I, when we think about homelessness in our country, and I'm sure I think everyone knows that in the wake of the pandemic, we will see a spike in homelessness with the levels of unemployment that we're all facing. So I think it's going to be a subject that requires a great deal more and deservedly so, attention on a national level to solutions that uplift people, that are truly empowering, and that provide the resources needed to make that difficult transition from homelessness to a home of your own again, especially in these economic times. I think our goal here at Lotus House is to turn the old dynamic of giving those with the least, and then blaming them when they don't succeed upside down, and to
Hmm.
say, let's use this opportunity here in our shelter as a platform for new ways of thinking and doing things, for innovation, for best practices and evidence based approaches to enriching the lives of those with the least so that they can succeed. Uh,
Hmm.
Certainly, the project that we started, which we affectionately call The Farm at Lotus Village with Freight Farms, is an example of that. It's the newest innovation in our village, and it was created to provide us with a year-round urban garden and science lab for our children and families. Teach the seed to harvest and farm to table uh, cycles, and to give them new ways of experiencing the natural world with transparency and um, hands-on experiences.
Yeah.
So Uh,
Absolutely. So before we get more into the farm, you kind of spoke to this a little bit already. Food seems to also play an important role at the Lotus House, in addition to all your other services. So tell us why food in particular is important, and what programs do you currently have that revolve around food?
so we know that children and families experiencing homelessness are at an extremely disproportionate risk for hunger, malnutrition, dietary inadequacies, and the associated health problems of food insecurity and poor nutrition. I mean, all the statistics show that homeless children are twice as likely as their peers to be hungry and to suffer really long ranging impacts of malnutrition and dietary inadequacies on cognitive development and physical growth and educational success, and even their mental health, social, and emotional well being. We know this firsthand at Lotus House. We did a survey not too long ago of 100 or so of our program participants, and we learned that almost 60% reported running out of food, eating less than they wanted, uh, eating foods that were not good for them, and they knew that because of lack of money, with almost a third not eating at all for an entire day before coming into the shelter. So the farm for us was an opportunity to, again, change this dynamic around homelessness, to create a window of opportunity uh, into what kinds of foods are of value and how they support our health and our well-being and growth, and then to ensure that the overall food service at our shelter was enriched. You know, so many shelters, because of lack of resources, are serving that kind of high starch, high fat, high sugar content food that really does not feed bodies, minds, and spirits in the way that we want to here.
Mhm. That link between poverty and food access is so apparent. And I really loved something that Jackie had mentioned in one of our previous discussions, is that Lotus is really trying to redefine what shelter food means. Like you said, it's usually high starch, unhealthy, what you can provide that's like not perishable items. And now you've kind of chosen to not only bring access to healthy food to your residents and guests at Lotus House, but actually bring the process of farming and that farm to table experience, which is often seen as and is a luxury in most parts of the world, where you don't necessarily have access to local, hyper local food.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot about how a lot of people who do the hydroponic farming mostly sell to restaurants and stuff. And so for us to be able to grow our own food and serve it to the guests is something that they might not ever be exposed to, are these really rich, nutritious, fresh, leafy greens that just consuming that alone provides so much real nutrition to people, and such a novel experience of getting to see something that was grown only like 50 yards away from our own kitchen and on their plate the next day, sometimes even the same day.
So, can you speak to us a little bit about the kitchen and how it runs, just so people can have a perspective on where the food is going, and what other programs do you run in the commercial kitchen aside from the farm food that's coming in?
So, our culinary program is a working classroom kitchen. It is a place where we teach the safe food handling course to women and youth who live here in the shelter. And we produce all our own meals on an annual basis. That's something close to 365,000 meals. We use a very heavily plant-based approach to our nutrition here, with vegetarian and vegan options at every meal. And all lunches are vegetarian, actually. Several times a week in the evenings, our meals are vegetarian. but there's always something available. And that's because we know that a vegetarian diet is so healthful that it reduces, based on some of the research, conflict and aggression. And we really want to feed the growing minds and bodies of our children in the best way possible. And that's really, this farm has just gone such a long way towards accomplishing those goals, producing so much for our everyday meal service.
It's incredible. And, you know, I find the story of how Freight Farms got on your radar pretty amazing because it speaks to the community in Miami. So can you tell us a little bit about how you came into contact with Freight Farms?
Yeah, so Thomas Smitherman runs Hammock Greens, which is another company in Miami. He has, I think, like at least 6 or more different leafy green machines from Freight Farms. And so he approached us and was interested in getting involved in our mission and serving the women we shelter. And so we kind of came to an agreement that he could park one of his farms on our property on this parking lot across the street from the shelter in exchange for some donated greens. So that was our first contact with Freight Farms. And he also is interested in recruiting the women that we house and serve to work for him. And so that's something else that we're working on too, is a job training program where we can actually train women and youth inside our own greenery, inside our own farm, and then recruit them to Thomas for paid jobs, which of course we're sheltering people, and financial stability and decent paying jobs is a huge goal. And that's actually one of the opportunities we have with him.
That's incredible. And I think I want to talk about that in just a little bit. But for, you know, we have quite a number of nonprofit and mission-based organizations that are farming with Freight Farms as well. But for those listening that might have an organization, it can be a little intimidating to think of how to find the funds for a project like this, because there is a high cost to the greenery. So can you tell us a little bit about how Lotus was able to secure the funding to purchase the farm and start the program?
Sure. After we toured one of Hammock Green's Freight Farms, it just became so evident to me that we could take a different approach, a non-commercial approach, and create a science lab and feed our shelter at the same time. So we had the opportunity to apply for the Children's Trust's innovation program. And every other year, the Children's Trust of Miami-Dade County solicits grant proposals for those who want to explore innovative ideas. We applied to them and secured an innovations grant. And then at the same time, fortunately, Miami-Dade County's environmental department was offering an RFP for innovative programs in nutrition and involving environmentally sensitive solutions. So we applied to them. We then reached out to the Health Foundation of South Florida because we knew we had a gap in the funding, and the David and Layla Sentner Family Foundation, who sponsored our culinary center. Like everything that we do in the nonprofit world, we kind of have a patchwork quilt of funding sources. And that is what gave us the needed resources to purchase the farm, to install it, to set it up, to begin the programming. We did a lot of underlying research in developing the program as an evidence-informed lesson plan for our kids. And that's really how we launched this program.
And so let's talk about that structure that you're talking about. So you needed to have a plan almost fully formed before the farm arrived. Is that right?
Yes, we did. And it needed to be grounded in research principles, which Jackie really took the lead on.
Great. So talk to us about that structure of the farming program and how you actually run it at Lotus House.
Yeah, so before we actually received and installed our farm, I spent a few months doing research just in a lot of nutrition education. And I had actually studied that in college. I was very involved with a community gardening project. And so I had a little bit of knowledge on what running a gardening and cooking program looks like. And then we did a lot of the research to find what theories would work best for our setting because we have a lot of unique needs here. Just based on the fact that this is kind of the home environment for most of the children we shelter. A lot of times, pretty much every time we go into the farm, it's after school. And so we knew that we wanted it to be very hands-on. A lot of our children have a lot of special needs too. So there's, you just don't want to waste time with lecturing and trying to be their teacher and be super instructive after school. We really just wanted it to be an environment where they could just have fun and learn things through actually doing it rather than telling them what to do. And then we also focus a lot on just kind of the inherent value of exposing people to vegetables. And instead of saying things like, this is what you should eat, you shouldn't eat this, like this is good for you, this is bad for you, it's just like, you're able to grow this, look how cool it is. Lots of that like positive strengths-based messaging. And it's also a really nice opportunity for them to kind of build their social emotional skills and bond with each other. A lot of the times, we always have a mix of ages in the classes. And so if there's older kids and younger kids, the younger kids are there for the first time, the older kids are a little more experienced. I can kind of just step back as a teacher and just let the older kids teach the younger ones and kind of take care of each other that way. But in general, the way it's structured, everything that we grow goes directly to our culinary center in the kitchen. All of our greens and vegetables that are grown are used in our daily salad bar. Every day at lunch, we have a salad bar available to guests, it's also used in the dinners. And so Monday through Friday, starting at 4 p.m., once all of the kids are back from school and they've done their homework, we'll take them into our greenery. There's a mix of all ages. It usually spans between ages 3 and 12. A lot of times the moms come with their younger kids. And most of the days on Monday through Friday, we are harvesting or planting seeds. And then after that, we also have a rooftop garden here at Lotus House with traditional soil planters. So we can also take the kids up there where they have a little more space to run around and they can kind of compare and contrast all of the hydroponic work that they just did to the traditional gardening environment. And then we also will use a lot of the stuff that we grow and just other fresh produce to do little cooking demonstrations and make healthy snacks together with the kids. So our program is kind of structured as after school. It's usually 4 to 6 p.m. right before dinner. Yeah, and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I love the way you structure this and how you take kind of a non-intimidating teaching approach. The farm itself, as you can see in you have posters on the wall that just kind of illustrate the growing cycle, and it's much more laid back, and I just love that approach, and that you're also comparing and contrasting soil farming and hydroponic farming. I think that's incredible. And you're taking a very holistic approach to this educational food and farming program. So outside of, the kitchen and the 2 farms, how else are you trying to spread the word of how you farm to the rest of the community at Lotus House? Are you just talk about how you're spotlighting what's going on?
Yeah, well, we really wanted to use the program as an opportunity to just kind of expand nutrition and health messaging as a whole. So one of the theories that we identified while we were doing that research to develop the curriculum is something called social ecological theory. And that's the idea that a child's development and a child's learning is kind of rooted in these different levels of ecology. So there's like the individual, the family, the organization, society, government, things like that. And so we really wanted to try to hit as many of those levels as we could to just kind of create this general presence at the shelter that encourages healthy eating and healthy living. So we do have a lot of those posters inside of the farm. We also have our farm stand, which is also, it's like a little wooden cart. It's planted sort of right in our main lobby, and we every day have these educational coloring pages on that for the young kids. We also, there's a farmer of the week that we choose every week that's highlighted on that. We show what we're growing, and then we also have like a news board in our pavilion.
They also do these wonderful tastings of the produce.
Yes, yeah, we also use the farm stand as an actual farm stand and give samples of the produce of what we grow. So if there's anyone in the shelter that doesn't know yet about the fact that we have a farm, or for whatever reason hasn't been inside yet, we can kind of bring the contents of the farm out to the rest of the shelter and let them see what we're growing. The kids can tell them about what they're growing and how they grew it, things like that.
We have a lot of community celebrations inside Lotus House, and the farm stand and the farm's activities are integral to all of those celebrations. So if it's Halloween, during the Halloween parties, one of the stations is to go and have a more healthy kind of snack or treat, to make something with, say, peanut butter and M&Ms and and apples and things like that. Or if it's spring and it's a spring celebration, then we've got the farm stand going to make fruit into beautiful flower arrangements. Or if it's the urban garden party in the outdoor rooftop area, the farm is an active participant in everything that we do. And I think this is what makes it both novel and normalizing for people to begin to think about fruit and vegetables as part of a healthy everyday diet.
That's incredible. So one thing I did want to mention before we moved on, these large grants that you received, they typically require some sort of specific goals outlined before you receive funds, or they check in. So how did that process work, and what were the results that you kind of relayed back to them? Because they just recently ended, correct?
Yes. I mean, well, first of all, when you write a grant like this for an innovative project, you actually don't know what your results are going to be. You kind of have goals that you shoot for. In our case, what we aimed for were 300 children and 150 adults attending at least one session, and then 50% of those doing 3 or more, and 25% doing 6+ sessions. And we really just make those numbers up based on what we think historically participation levels are. And I'll have Jackie share the outcome of that.
Yeah, we had really great outcomes, and we also, so our grant period was a year long, and we actually didn't start programming until about halfway through that grant period, just based on the time that we received the farm. So really in the first 6 months of programming, we had 285 children attending at least one session and 199 adults. And on average, kids were attending 4 times. There was also this really core group of about 30 kids that over that time period, over the course of their stay at the shelter, they came 10 or more times. So while there was a lot of involvement across the shelter from all ages, there was also this group that was really especially interested and kept coming back and coming back, which was really awesome and super rewarding to work with. And then we harvested, yes, so I counted yesterday. So total, since we started the program, I think we had over 1,000 pounds of produce, and it was about 15,000 heads of lettuce. Just in 2020 alone, since January 1st of this year, as of yesterday when I checked, we had 568 pounds this year and 8,500 heads of lettuce. So the results have been really, really great.
That's incredible. And a successful farming initiative is truly tied to the operations and the structure. And Jackie, you are the project coordinator for the farm. I find it really interesting. Like, were you hired for this role, or did it grow out of a different position? Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with who is going to be in charge of the farm.
Yeah, so I was initially hired for more of a research role at the shelter to assist Constance in lots of other research projects. And pretty shortly after I started working here, she pulled me into her office and told me that we received funding for this new farm program and that I was going to be in charge of the farm. And I was super excited about that. So in college, I did kind of an independent research. I designed my own minor. It was called Food Culture in America. And I did my thesis on using nutrition education to make people's food stamps benefits last longer. So this was something that I was really excited about. Food and nutrition are just, I've always been super passionate about, super interesting to me. I had no experience in hydroponic growing, so as far as that, it was totally new. But I was really excited about it. Yeah.
That's great.
I would add that we have very much a team approach in the shelter. So our education team members also participate. Our programming team members who work a lot directly with the children participate. And we sent 3 people up to the Freight Farms training program in Boston to learn how to operate the farm so that we could handle it operationally, programmatically, and from an education and culinary standpoint.
Great. And so how exactly does the typical work week look at the farm? You mentioned it a little bit before, but if you can dive into a little bit more of the specifics of the kids and your timing of things.
Yeah, so again, it's a weekday after school program, so Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. The way I structure is we'll spend the first 2 or 3 days of the week harvesting. So we are, we have the workflow to keep up with to keep the farm full. And we have that same operating schedule that Freight Farms recommends to a lot of people, except we just adapt it a little bit to the ages of kids we're working with. So I usually spend the first 3 days harvesting, and then Thursday and Friday planting seeds. Those are 2 activities that the kids can really, no matter what age, get involved in and get excited about. They especially love the harvesting for sure. So any day that you come in after school while we're in there, it's going to be probably like 6 kids at a time, maybe 10 or 12 over the course of the afternoon. Mix of all ages. We usually ask that kids under 5 come with their mom, but we do and there will be mothers and their babies in there. And then a lot of times, like 9 and 10-year-olds get really engaged. So they're all just at that workstation at the seedling table, harvesting stuff. We put music on the Bluetooth speakers. There's jazz playing. And then immediately when we finish harvesting, we walk over to the kitchen to deliver the greens. We'll weigh it, see how much we harvested for the day, drop it off for the kitchen for them to use in the salad bar. And then I will usually get those older kids help afterwards with the transplanting and other maintenance and cleaning related tasks. It's honestly amazing how much the kids love to clean and take care of the farm. I'm always amazed at how much they want to scrub the algae and spray the xylitol and take care of it. They love it.
That's great.
Yeah, and we have a lot of volunteer help too, just kind of finishing up any loose ends that aren't finished in that time that we're in there with all ages of kids.
Awesome. So it's been about 8 months or so since the farm has been up and running. Let's talk a little bit more about the impact from the farm in the Lotus community. First one off the top of my head is, what do the kids think of the produce?
Yeah, I mean, the kids love it. Like across the board, there's really just positive responses from everyone. They're always, anyone who comes in, even adults, not just kids, is just super taken aback and interested by how high tech the setting is, just with all the lights on. They've just never seen vertical farming like this before, or hydroponic farming. Most people haven't, especially not people in our community or people living in a shelter. The kids love it though. Like, they are so excited to eat the stuff that they will just eat the lettuce raw while we're in the farm. I actually have to ask them to wait until we're done farming and wait until the gloves are off to try it. But I mean, I've never seen anyone eat raw lettuce before, and the kids do it. And I mean, the main thing, I see it over and over again, is that every child has an inherent interest in gardening. They're always inherently interested in watching things grow and watching a seed develop into a plant. And so really my job is just to kind of bring that interest out of them and nurture it in the people who are especially interested in it. And then, we'll also find ways to kind of get the positive reinforcement for kids. So we have like our farmer of the week on the farm stand, and then we'll also often put like a sign in the serving line to show that these greens were grown here. This is who helped make them. And I'll get a lot of comments from parents about, just how cool it is that their kids helped grow the salad that they're eating, or that they're proud of their child, things like that.
I'm sure there's definitely a sense of pride is seeing your kid producing something and growing something from scratch and then being able to serve the rest of the community. So I can only imagine how that really feeds back into that full holistic approach of beneficial eating, healthy eating, nutrition, everything like that. So that's incredible. So one thing I did want to talk about is how have things changed from when you got the farm to now, and what's in store for your future? Like, say the pandemic wasn't happening right now, what would you be doing?
Right. So at the beginning of this year, right before the pandemic hit, I was working a lot on kind of providing more structure to the volunteerism aspect of the farm, because we get a lot of interest, especially as time goes on and more people hear about the fact that we have a hydroponic farm here and are interested in getting involved. We have a lot of community interest in Miami of people wanting to help. And so I was trying to create a more structured program where no matter what the time commitment or level of interest, they could help with teaching the kids or with doing maintenance. And that would help us a lot too, as far as just keeping it hyper clean, especially since we have so many kids coming in there all the time, and making sure workflow is consistent and really improving the crop quality. So that's a major thing I want to focus on this year, is beefing up that volunteering program again. And then the job program too that we mentioned earlier, that was something that we were beginning. And then something that we, even way back before we got our farm, when we were still designing the curriculum, we had research in mind at the end. So we wanted to use the first 6 months or a year or so to really establish the program before we could develop a research structure around it to find any hard outcomes and evidence-based results from this program that we could then use to disseminate to the research community. And so something that, in order to do that, we need to find a research partner and get additional funding, things like that.
So I want to mention that a lot of the programming that we have going on here at the shelter is it includes some component of research associated with it. We have the largest study in the country of sheltered children's special needs, developmental progress, social and emotional well-being, and trauma histories, as well as the effectiveness of different evidence-based child and family therapies. We approached this project with the idea that, yes, we were going to launch it, but our goal ultimately in developing it was to create an evidence-based program for others as well. If we found that the results were going to merit that kind of further investment in what we're doing, and based on everything that we've experienced so far, we know that's the next step for us long term.
Great, that's incredible. So just to move on a little bit here, the whole world is experiencing the effects of COVID-19. but this virus is disproportionately affecting certain populations and people of certain socioeconomic statuses. How is Lotus House and your surrounding community doing during this crisis?
I will tell you that it actually has turned our world upside down. There's no aspect of our shelter operations, programming, and support services that hasn't been impacted. We have had to dedicate additional staffing, hire new staffing, modify and adapt programming and support services, obviously to further the health and safety of a high special needs group of women and children in a congregate living environment to remain safe. We have remained fully operational. We continue to accept new women and children on a weekly basis into the shelter. We are running at something like 480 plus on a nightly basis right now. Lotus House has become not just a shelter, but with the closure of public schools and childcare facilities, we are homeschooling children here, after schooling, and just continuing to provide as much health and safety education and screening as we can, and as much added support for the social and emotional well-being of everyone here as we possibly can. It has been enormously costly, but the outcome has been enormously positive as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can only imagine, we have these social distancing regulations in place all over the world, and you don't have the luxury of being able to do that all the time because you are all under the same roof, especially if kids are being schooled all together. It's pretty incredible, but the support I've heard a bit that you're receiving from the outside community as well in donations and masks and a few other resources, and then you're able to support the community at Lotus, but then also open up those resources that you're receiving to the Overtown community. So can you talk about kind of what's been happening and what other initiatives you've almost started because of what's going on?
Yeah, so I do want to say, with an enormous shout out of gratitude to countless people who I know and don't know, who responded to our COVID relief fund that we launched on our social media. Just so many heartfelt thanks. We never anticipated something of this magnitude. It is extremely challenging when you serve high special needs individuals like this. And yet we are also located in a neighborhood that is the poorest neighborhood in Miami. So we began to realize very quickly that our neighborhood was hungry and truly suffering. We mobilized a free market kind of grocery giveaway. We're doing that 3 days a week at this point, pulling in resources, donated food from a lot of different directions, many community partners like Feeding South Florida and Health in the Hood and others, and they're working with us. We're seeing lines for blocks away from the shelter. Everyone is social distancing or trying their best to in all of these activities and in everything that we're doing in the shelter. We have masks, thanks to many who donated, and we are just trying to make sure that everyone stays as safe and healthy and full as we possibly can.
And I think that speaks to the question that a lot of people have is how can they help? And I'll kind of transition into our question and answer portion of this. But you do have a space where people can, if they choose to support Lotus House and your efforts during this pandemic. And we've included the link here. Do you want to speak to that at all before we jump into the questions?
Yeah, well, I just thank you for including the link. Thank you to anyone who's listening and those who hear about the needs that we have here at the shelter, it takes a village, and we know this for sure. It's how we came into existence. It's how we sustain and end homelessness in not just our community, but across our nation and around the world. And it's really the generosity of so many unsung heroes out there who make such a difference in people's lives.
Great. And on that note, we have a question. All shelters should have services like these. Do you work with other locations to try and replicate your model that you've started in Miami?
So Lotus House, Lotus Village was designed as a prototype for the future. We do get inquiries and offer help to any other shelter organizations that reach out to us, or communities that reach out to us and want to know how they can build a village like this, how they can adapt or supplement their own programming. Our goal is to share as much information as possible, and we're here as a resource. We're not an organization that plans to replicate ourselves in many places around the country. There are seeds everywhere, so to speak, and our focus is to really serve as a catalyst for change and to help grow and nurture and nourish those seeds whenever possible.
Incredible. And then another one is, do you see your hydroponic farming, the training program, as a viable future for employment for your residents in the future around Miami? Like, do you see this kind of taking off as an employment opportunity?
It certainly has the potential. Our initial focus has very much been on creating an educational environment that instills a love of plants, the ecosystem, the environment in children, and in improving the nutrition overall in homeless shelters specifically, where there's really a dearth of fresh vegetables and fruit so often because of constraints in resources. Beyond that, everything else for us will be icing on the cake. We leave that particular focus to the commercial growers, farmers like Hammock Greens, for example, and others. But we are creating a crop of very knowledgeable young people for the future.
That's incredible. We need more farmers.
Yes.
All right, I think we have time for probably just one more question. And I think this is more reiterating, but could you just speak to the goals that you were trying to achieve with this farm project and the priorities for the project when it first was initiated?
Our goal was to create an innovative children's science lab and an urban garden that brought transparency and sustainability to production of vegetables and nourishing our shelter community. I think that's the primary focus of the project. It has been successful beyond our wildest dreams, quite frankly, and that's what innovation allows. You tread into uncharted territory and see what there is to learn, and that's what we did here.
Incredible. Thank you both for speaking to all of us here today. We are really grateful for your time, and we hope the best for you in the future, especially during the pandemic. We encourage all our listeners to potentially donate if you can, and look out for more great things coming out of Lotus House in the future. Thank you both.
And thank you as well for bringing awareness to the important needs of those experiencing homelessness in our community and across our nation, and the innovative solutions that are possible to feed us all.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your platform with us and all of the ongoing support you guys provide.